Hello, hello. Starting here with a picture of my two boys. George on the left, taking a picture of his brother Ellery on the right. And I'm taking a picture of them. If you're new to my channel, I'm a photographer. As a hobbyist, right? I don't do this professionally. I share pictures of my family mostly, right? Of my kids, my wife, and just our lives. And right, I think people that watch the channel are either interested in photography, especially black and white photography, or maybe they are also interested in documenting their own families, right? They might also be a photographer hobbyist and photographing their family. So this was a special occasion. This is my 10-year wedding anniversary, the weekend. And it started off with time with a friend came over from California, and we had all our kids together. But my wife and I are actually going to get away for the weekend, and we get 2 nights where it's just me and her, Barbara, which it's the first time that we've done that since our kids were born. So it's been over 9 years since we've had 2 nights, just the two of us. And I wanted it to be, right, of course I want to bring a camera and take pictures. We're headed out to the Washington coast, right? We live in Portland, Oregon, and we're headed out to the Long Beach, Washington for the first time. And I want to bring a camera, but I don't want to make the weekend about photography, right? I don't want to bring too many cameras and too many lenses, and for my wife to feel like I'm more into my photography than I am into, like, right, her and our anniversary. So I packed very light, right? I just brought one camera, one lens, and like maybe 5 or 6 rolls of film, all black and white. So I brought a 40-year-old Minolta CLE and a 28mm lens. And I usually shoot 35 and 24, and so I sort of split the difference, right, and just grabbed my smallest 28mm. Right, and if you really care about what it is, it's a Leica 28mm Elmarit and a Minolta CLE. So I'm going to go through and just share some photos, right, add to the story a little bit, and then in a few places I might just comment about maybe like a film stock or the camera or lens. All right, this here is a pushed HP5. All right, again, this is right before the night before we depart, and this is here as a placeholder for me because my son George is playing with this dog, and we don't have dogs. We're a cat family, but he's very interested in dogs, and so I'm gonna sort of have to overcome my preference for just having a bunch of cats, and at some point we are gonna get a dog. And George, if you're watching this in the future and we never did get a dog, I'm sorry. Sorry to let you down, buddy. Okay, the next day, right, we have to cross the Columbia River, and we choose to do so on a bridge that we've never been on. So I wanted to take a picture of the bridge crossing the Columbia. But then we also came across this person who was also crossing the bridge at the same time. And it was like, I mean, not only do I just think this is awesome, right? But it's, I don't know, it's a little bit of like my life if I hadn't gotten married. Now, here we took sort of the long path out there, and we followed the Columbia River, and this was a chance for us to get out of the car and just go be a little bit closer to the river, take a break. I sort of like this barge, right? It reminds me of one of my favorite Kudelka photos, although I'm missing the very key subject in the foreground that actually makes the shot. So my photo's not very good, but still. Right, I think this is still the HP5. I'll let you know when I change film stocks. Now this is the Columbia. Right, and I wanted to get sort of this like framing foreground, and then also, but what I was really interested in, again, this is a 28 millimeters, so it's limited, is on top of all these wood posts are like plants that grow. So no, I like this shot because I really like that shadow that comes across the pavement. Right, nice thing about the CLE, because it's a rangefinder, and you can, even with a 28 millimeter lens, you can see outside of that frame, and so it's easier to sort of see compositions. So I like this one, and you know, HP5, it's like right, you can, when you look at that truck, right, it has HP5 in that signature, but it's I like it. Now we found this cool truck, and we were like, oh, cool truck. But then we came upon an even cooler truck, which I'm not sure I'd actually, maybe I've seen a Model T before, but I hadn't seen one in such great shape. You know, this owner had taken really good care of it, and even had these nice touches of like, right, the suitcase on the side, flowers, right? It was, I think his son was getting married that week, and so this was in tip-top shape for the wedding. And we were checking it out, right? And the owner came over and said, "Do you want to get in?" So we did. Which, you know, it's a little more like spontaneous than we usually are, but we were in that sort of like, hey, it's our 10-year anniversary. Let's be a little spontaneous. And the owner then, George, he took us on a ride. Right, so we're in the back seat here. And he's showing us how fast it goes, which, I don't know, 30 miles per hour, maybe a little faster, 35. Right, so I wanted a photo here that sort of shows the moving road. And I wanted my hand in it, right? It's like, I'm in this car. But yeah, it was pretty thrilling. And we sort of explored, right, by the river. There's a dirt road. He had never been on it. We'd never been on it. You know, at this point, I'm a little bit like, are we really going down a dirt road with somebody we don't know? But yeah, my better senses took over and realized this was just a cool chance to ride in a Model T. And then I really like this shot. This is not the whole Columbia, right? This is just like a little offshoot of the Columbia. All right, then we get back in the car and we go to where we're staying, which I might look it up real quick, because the place we were staying is worth mentioning, because it's a very cool place. All right, it's called the Sou'wester Lodge in the Long Beach, Washington area. and it's a bunch of old vintage trailers. And this is their office where you can pick out records and put them in the record player. Right, and I like that Nat King Cole was by David Bowie. And this is still HP5. Yeah, I think I'm still in my first roll here. Just taking pictures of their cool office space. This was also in their office space, where you could pick out a movie, like a VHS, and come watch a movie. But I like that backdrop, and even sort of what was on the TV wasn't, right, it was like the reflection out of a window. I thought that was kind of neat, with like this lamp. And then we go to our actual trailer, which my wife picked out a really good one. It was a 1950s trailer, and I think 1950, right? So a 74-year-old trailer. So it was in, considering its age, it was in good condition. And this is maybe my favorite shot of all of my photos from the trip. I've switched to Tri-X. And for both HP5 and Tri-X, right, I'm exposing on the low end. These are, probably rated at 800 or probably even 1600. Right, and I'm doing some pushing in X-Stall. You can kind of see here the shadows are pretty weak. But I like that look. Okay, inside, right, there's a couple of couches. This is one of them. Right, they've made it all nice and cute, right? This vintage key for the trailer, right? Little flowers and a little cactus, and right, the way the light comes in the front. It made me want one of these things for real. And then I'm showing off the one book I brought on the trip, right? It's this little pocket size. It's not quite pocket size, but it's smaller. The Kudelka Gypsies, right? I've got multiple copies of that book, and the print quality on this one is I do like the bigger version, the newest aperture. The bigger version has the best print quality. But if you didn't have that one, you wouldn't know that this one wasn't amazing, right? So, but it's what I love about this one is that it's easy to take it with me. Right, and so I can sort of flip it open real quick and get inspiration. Yeah. Now this is still the same place where we're staying, right? The Sou'wester is maybe how you say it. They have a vintage clothes shop, and it's just open all the time, right? So they have a lot of trailers and things that they've converted into, right, being part of, right? You'll see here in a second, there's like an art gallery, a movie theater, right? So this was the vintage clothes shop. My wife thought she had maybe found something good. She didn't keep it, but she was trying it on. And then here's the movie theater. They show a couple of movies a day. You can kind of see they've got it converted into a theater. So my wife gets lots of credit in finding a very cool place for us to spend our 10-year anniversary. Now this photo, you can see it's a little underexposed, right? I do like it, but it's like I was right on the edge. Any less exposure, and this shot didn't turn out. And now we've gone to the beach. We were almost walking distance, like it was sort of debatable. I think we did walk. We walked the second night, but the first night we chose to drive out there. And it's cool there where you can actually drive your car out onto the beach. And then again, this one's like right on the edge of underexposure, and I think that's the CLE, right? Was metering a little too hot off the sky. Right, my particular CLE, it's not really center weighted. It's weight, it's weighted a little above center, not a little bit, quite a bit above center. But I still like how, right, that it ended up sort of making the sand pretty cool looking and some of the shadows. Right, and this was actually a really cool spot, right? We had a lot of fun sitting in this spot. Sorry, that was my ding, not yours. That was a highlight of the trip, is the time that we spent right here. It was sort of a windy, it was windy and a little cool. And so this was a nice place to kind of hide from the wind and just enjoy the beach, the sun. All right, this is sort of, right, include me in the photo, right? I'm also here. My poor kids, they're going to get, 1 million photos of their mom and like 2 of their dad. I actually give my kids, they have cameras too, right? They have Instax, they have digital cameras and things, because I want them taking pictures of, well, me, right? Or other. So they do have some. Now, I've given Barbara a camera, but she uses her phone, right? She does get some phone pictures. So this is that next morning, and we're having our coffee, Heart Coffee. I'd love if they were a sponsor of the channel. And again, just really nice morning light coming in. I like the way the morning light was sort of kissing off her phone and book and lighting her up some. She doesn't like it when I take pictures of her on her phone, right? But I took some other, I was like, okay, we'll put your phone down. I took a few others, but they all felt a little bit staged, and this is the best one that didn't feel staged. And then I think for film, I think at this point I've maybe switched to, this looks like a FP4. I'm not entirely sure I have all these in perfect order, but yeah, this is FP4. And up to this point, I've really liked the 28mm, right? I'm glad I can kind of catch the stove over here and the door and the Crocs on the floor, right? Just kind of show off this little space. It's a cool trailer. It had me shopping, right? Like I can't afford it or maintain it, and also like this place exists, so just go there, right? Now this is me sort of like, right, I looked at my Gypsies book. I was like, felt inspired. Right, and this one too, right? And I'm also sort of giving credit to my favorite book. Right? It's like, yep, it's with me. Now this is their art gallery. Isn't that awesome? They have a trailer that's an art gallery. Right, and none of these are like stationed by employees, because that'd be weird. That'd be weird if you walked in these things and there's a person in there, right? So it's all just kind of go whenever, right? Just go whenever, check it out. It was a little dark in there. I did try to take a photo and it didn't turn out, so we don't get to see the art. But it was a great display. The people who managed that had done a really nice job. Now this is staged, right? I said go pretend like you're making a phone call. But yeah, they had this, right, this old phone. Did it have a dial tone? I don't think it did. I think this is just for show at this point. Right, but this is all at that like Sou'wester paradise. I like the right. I was good here at giving right. I knew that my camera would not meter this well, so I gave it additional exposure with the compensation because I knew the sky behind her would blow her out. So I did like a +2, and it did a nice job on the tones on her. And then I just wanted to show off the all these stickers inside the phone booth, get a little closer, and then just sort of this like right, all the bushes are right by the phone, and you got Macho Man Randy Savage up here who's holding a camera. That's kind of neat. And then this was a place where you could come do like yoga or just some meditation. What do you call these? Are they like bucky balls or like earth domes, or I kind of forget. All right, now they also have right a outdoor bathtub and shower, and you reserve this space, right? It's fenced in with a privacy fence, and you can reserve it for like an hour or 90 minutes or something. And it also has like a hot a sauna, and like another indoor shower, and so yeah, we reserved it. And there's a lot of photos here I can't show you, but I don't think my wife will mind if I show you this one, right, which is just her relaxing in the bathtub. And I got in this tub, which I love taking baths, and I don't have a bathtub in my house that is big enough for me. It's like a 3/4 tub, right? So this was a highlight for me to be able to get into a bathtub. And then I just walked around, right? I let, I gave myself like 30 minutes to walk around this place and just take some photos. I really like this one, and my wife does too, right? I've shown her these photos, and this was a standout for her. But you can tell the people that run this place have just like a really good sense of style. And then I like this one just because of, right, just sort of like a nice combination of shapes and shadows and tones. And the film looks really good, right? This is FP4, and it's just like, if you're a film nerd, right, this is pretty delicious. And now this is that 28 where I've focused on this front flamingo. And just to give, and then this is 2.8, so a little bit of like focus fall off here, just a little bit, right? It's kind of a nice shot. I like this, like the flamingo shadow here. This dark right side, this little popping flamingo. I like that the trailer is a little out of focus. Now, just like, right, most of these trailers were unoccupied, so I'm not like, right, sneaking up on an occupied trailer, right? This is unoccupied. These are all unoccupied, right? This one too. It's not like there are people in there, right? I made sure that I wasn't being weird. Okay, then we went on a hike. Well, before we went on a hike, we went to a different spot on the beach. And it had all this driftwood. And somebody had, right, built. It's always amazing what people have built on the beach with driftwood. But this one was especially cool. I don't know, right? They found this like enormous curved piece. Right, but this is another favorite of mine. Just the the pose and the look of my wife, right? And this is not staged, right? She just jumped up there and I snapped it. This is Tri-X. This was just like an enormous piece of driftwood and then like a silver sand. It's probably somebody playing in the sand, right? But I just kind of found this and thought it was neat. I like all the sort of textures, right? And gray tones in that driftwood. Forget the name of this beach. It has like a, I feel like it has like the name of maybe a Hawaiian beach. It's like Waikiki or something. Yeah, just tons of like, right, things people had built with the driftwood. And then, speaking of driftwood, check out, you can't quite tell how big this is. I mean, maybe you can. You can look at all the rings, right? But it's taller than me. It's probably 5 to 6 feet tall. And then I'm like taking this photo, and my wife enters the scene, right? Sort of not knowing what I'm doing, and I snap this photo, and it's maybe my favorite shot on the weekend. Although I feel like I've said that a few times now, but I really like sort of how centered her hand and phone are, and then her hair and the way it complements the stump. You know, if I'm going to be a little picky, I wish I'd given it a touch more exposure, but yeah, the overall composition here is a good one. I'll probably print this one. Yeah, I am. Now, I don't want to like bore you with too many photos of my wife, right? But this is our 10-year anniversary, so that's mostly what I'm photographing here. And we go on, now this is where we do a little hike, right? Cape Disappointment Trail gives you an idea of where we are. And I guess the story of why it's called Cape Disappointment is they hiked to the end of this looking for a river, and they got to the end and thought, well, they didn't find a river, and they were disappointed. But they did find a river, right? It was the Columbia, and it was so big at this point where it meets the ocean that they thought it was just the ocean, right? So at some point they realized it was the river, and they were no longer disappointed. So it was a temporary disappointment. Yeah, I just liked how this kind of showing you. We got off. This is not the main trail. We got off the main trail a little bit. And now I really like this shot, right? Kind of the way she's posing with kind of this tree here and sort of that parallel. But then I came around. So this is Tri-X, and this is the end of my roll. And I put in Delta 100, which I was shooting it with an exposure index of 25. Because this is like middle of the day. And this is how I like to shoot Delta 100. But I wanted another shot. I was like, well, I took one with Tri-X. Let me take one with Delta 100. And at this point, she'd gone over to be closer by the tree and was doing some breathing and stretching. And this is maybe my favorite roll of the weekend. Right, I really like how she kind of opened up into a pose that's very similar to the tree. And right, this kind of the nice curve here, the grass, and then the ocean. Yeah, and this, I think this was a good combination with Delta 100. So, all right, and now we find sort of a place on top of the hill where they used to, right, keep ammunition. And it was very like rusty and old. Um, and you could go down there and wander around, and so we did. There were many, many doors that looked like that, and a lot of them were open, and you could go inside of this thing. Right, I wanted one without my wife. Now I know if my kids had been with us, they would have tried to go through those little holes. I would have had to say nope. And then I like this photo as it is, but right, at this point I was shooting Delta 100 at 25 and a 2.8 lens, and so I think this was like 1/15 of a second, and it's a little blurry, just a little bit. I don't think it ruins it, but it did have me like, why did I rate this at 25? But it's a very nice photo. The light coming in here was really gorgeous. And I just liked finding these like little names and things, like Hannah. And cool like staircases and things. Yeah, I like this shot a lot. And again, this was one where I had to go exposure compensation of +2 because there's so much bright light behind her, and it was just enough. It was just enough to get her. Right, this is still that same hike, right? This is a cool hike to do. This was an awesome little spot, and I'm sure it's well photographed. Like, you know, it's one of those places where like, okay, I'm like the 50,000th photographer to be taking a photograph of this, right? And so I wanted one of my wife taking a photo of it, which I really like this one. And then also, right, I don't know that person, but right, I just thought that was a cool, right, to have a person up there and sort of, right, to complement the shape of the tree. And then we go back to where we're parked, and I see this woman and her dog. And I actually asked her, I was like, do you mind if I take your photo? Because I think, you know, just keep doing what you're doing. Like, I think it's a cool scene. And she was fine with that. So, you know, my wife said, I wish that car wasn't there. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, Delta 100 is crazy here. It's a crazy amount of fine detail. I'd almost say too much, except I think for the dog here, it's nice to have that extra detail. And the sort of the tonality there on her hat is really nice. All right, we drove up to see a lighthouse within like 5 minutes of where the hike was, right? And now I'm shooting, this is FP4. And to give you an idea of like, right, this is 100%. I think that looks really nice. All right, it takes my computer a second to sort of load it at full resolution. Feels a little crooked to me. I might come back and straighten that just a little bit. Yeah, it's a really nice lighthouse. You know, my wife liked the way the waves were coming in, so she was getting a photo. And I asked her to stand by the lighthouse for one picture. We did not go up into it. I think you had to pay. But I like sort of how this was a little bit overcast. And so it kind of made it where the lighthouse popped a little bit more than the clouds, right? I think that was nice. Now this is our second night, and we headed back out to the beach. And we walked this time. And it was a different kind of night, right? There was more low clouds, almost a fog, right? This is like 6:37 p.m. And it created sort of this surreal lighting. Unfortunately, it wasn't actually pleasant to be out there. It was a little cooler and windier, and then there was an unusual amount of like dead crabs and whatnot all over the beach, and so we did not stay very long. You never quite know what you're going to get out on the coast. All right, this lady is weird. She freaked us out, right? We went into a store. It's called like the Marsh something or another, and very interesting store. Lots of things that you've maybe never seen before, including this woman who greets you at the door. All right, this is just an example of kind of what's in the store. Now my wife, though, look at this smile. She is so happy to have found this blanket, which, though, she did not buy, and it makes me wonder, like, why did we not buy that? We got focused on finding presents for our kids, is I think what happened. Now, maybe it was my fault that we didn't get that. Sorry, Barbara. All right, we went to a kite museum. It was a cool museum, but I was expecting a lot of natural light, because you think of kites like sunlight, right? And it's more of like a museum, right, where they're sort of protecting things. So not many of the kites were in full sun. And this was the only picture I took. I sort of was like, okay, I'm not going to take a bunch of pictures of kites. So I just got this one, which it's hard to tell the scale here, but I don't know. This is like 12 feet tall or bigger. Again, I'm just sort of checking out the neighborhood around the Sou'wester, well, and the trailer, the vintage trailer park. All right, I sort of like this, like the sign's gone. I came around on this side and sort of like this tree and the flag a little bit. All right, that flag caught my attention. The BMW parked in the grass. And then, yeah, I mean, I didn't want to step into their yard, so I'm taking this from the street. So I sort of made the hose, right, in that back building part of it. Yeah, I really enjoy this kind of photography, right? It's like my escape. Just kind of wandering around and all right. I think I look at photos like this fairly abstractly, right? It's like I'm not. I think it's more about shapes and tones and balance. All right, now we've crossed the river and we're headed back home. We've gone to Astoria. That's my wife carrying her New Yorker bag. And checking out sort of a weird display, window display. And then here you can see my finger. This is the first shot. I do struggle with, like, my fingers tend to get up in the... I like all these little itty bitty lenses, but I tend to stick my finger in front of them. So, yeah. Somebody just had this little dog and was pretty friendly, so we held it. And this is my wife's favorite photo of her from the roll. That and the stump one, but she really liked this one. This is maybe the first time where I wish I hadn't just had a 28, right? I think a 35 would have been better for the shot, or a 50, right? But up to this point, which is basically the end of the trip, right, I've been really happy with just having a 28. You know, and I think this is a cool self-portrait, right? I've made it into the bottom of the frame, right? It's like a reflection in the window of like a little store with cute dress and whatnot. And my wife's like, "Daniel, this is not cool. This is creepy." So I got less excited about it, but so it's somewhere between cool and creepy. But I liked all the patterns in like the sky part, and then also in the shadowy part, right? Not the best photo, but just kind of thought it was cool to shoot through the glass and across the street like that. I think I'm getting a coffee, right? Okay, we're back, right? I thought it'd be appropriate to just end with, like, it's still the weekend and we're back in town, but we're back with our kids and we're doing we wanted to do a family thing, so we went to see a Pickles game, a Portland Pickles, which is our first time, and right, this picture I was a little disappointed at first because the shutter's a little slow and my finger's kind of in front of it, but it's sort of just like an absurd picture, and my kids are in there, the Pickles doing the side, it works. This is FP4 if you're curious. Right, so we paid for the cheap seats, like out in the grass, which was not good for watching the game, but it is good if you're just hanging out with people. But I like this woman who was like munching on her snack underneath her sun thing. But also just like this crowd of people was pretty neat. Yeah, my boys, they brought a glove, right? They each brought gloves in case a pop fly came their way. And they were, got them some peanuts. So it was fun to be back and, be with the kids again and to spoil them a little bit. And, there's my finger again, right? But yeah, this is, right, FP4 with that Elmarit, right? It is impressive, right? How much, how sharp and how much detail you can get with film, right? If you really want it. This big crowd of people is pretty neat. But I also like this shot because I like these two chairs, right? Kind of in the front, those white glowing chairs. No, I staged this one, right? I told him to go stand by this painted mural of the baseball player. Instead of a bat, he's got a pickle, so George is pretending to eat it. And then lastly, I took the boys to an arcade, and that's the conclusion. That's the end of my photo share. And I'm back to being, right, a dad with boys, and my fun little 2-day getaway with my wife for our 10-year anniversary is over, and it was a really, really nice trip, right? Maybe there's some things in there you saw that were like, hey, that would be fun. I hope I get to do it again. I hope it's not my 20th anniversary when I get to do that next. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed the photos and seeing a little bit slice of life of my family. So take care.